internet, question. Have you ever worried that someone was lying about rape? Every single time a woman comes forward about having been abused by a beloved movie star, musician, TV star, YouTubers, that star's fans immediately accuse her of lying.
Or maybe they just require evidence to show that this person is telling the truth and not lying, like any person with a brain should.
Men's groups online that claim that women lie about rape 90% of the time.
Oh gee, I wonder what would give them that idea. Also, I love how you never mention once which men's group you're talking about. I don't know, maybe it just didn't happen. Yeah.
A sheriff in Idaho very recently claimed that they don't need a better system for rape kits which collect evidence because most victims are liars.
The majority of our rapes that are called in are actual consensual sex.
Maybe they are. I'd like to see evidence.
I mean, look, couldn't you or me or anybody in the world just make up a rape for attention, to get revenge out of jealousy?
Yes, absolutely. Why the hell not?
Toby Turner's mom posted on Facebook. Yeah, you could totally do that. But would you do that?
I think we already covered the answer to that.
And how often does that actually happen? The FBI states that between 2 and 8% of rape reports are false.
Why the hell is this thing from 2013?
Is actually a low number in the crime world. Other crimes, like say theft, they hover around 10% false reports. And even that 2 to 8% statistic is deceptive. It includes reports where someone accidentally identified the wrong person,
which is still partially false rape.
That are thrown out because of inconsistent details.
Inconsistent details in evidence about rape basically means that the story and the evidence presented to say that a rape even occurred doesn't make any sense and doesn't look like it ever happened. In other words, that is 100% false rape.
But it is a well-known fact amongst victimologists that trauma affects your memory, and that 2 to 8% includes survivors who recanted.
Recanting your statement is absolutely proof that you lied, because essentially recanting means you are saying, I lied.
Could take it back because they were lying, sure, but much more commonly, they take it back because they're being pressured to take it back.
And where's your evidence for that, Laci?
Because they've decided they'd rather just not deal with it. So what does this mean? It means that malicious, actually false reports and allegations are pretty rare.
But that doesn't mean that they don't happen, or that we should just believe someone without evidence that they actually were victims of anything.
And yet, doubting someone, calling them a liar when they come forward, is extremely common. Many of the reasons why we're inclined to doubt someone revolve around rape myths, myths about victims, and myths about gender. For one,
or maybe it's because in any civilized society, we always presume innocence before guilt, and we need proof that someone is guilty before we throw them in jail for a crime that they did not commit.
most perpetrators aren't greasy, creepy guys who hang out in the shadows.
Notice how she immediately jumps to, it's guys. Guys are creepy, they're rapists. Ugh, they're so disgusting.
They're just regular people in our lives. When fans, friends, family, coworkers find out that someone that they know and love did something terrible, it can be really hard to grapple with and accept, and instead, they choose to deny it. That halo effect around a perpetrator can be so strong that you can have cases like Cosby's where nearly 60 women come forward and report, and people still don't believe that anything happened.
Because innocence until proven guilt. Also, when you look at all the women who have come forward, including Janice Dickinson, they all seem to be very disingenuous. Now, that's not evidence, but it's interesting.
Supermodel Janice Dickinson, she claims Bill Cosby sexually assaulted her in 1982, and she's suing him for defamation after he called her a liar with Janice, her attorney, Lisa Bloom. Janice, let me start with you. Cosby's attorney last year called your claims nothing more than a, quote, fabricated lie. Yesterday, when you heard this news that Cosby had admitted to giving drugs to women he wanted to have sex with, what did you think?
I think that I have mixed emotions.
And Janice,
my feelings.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
My feelings are that I've been, not only all of these women, and even the women that haven't come forward, have been holding on to this, and we have been called liars, and we have been called, you know, fabricating these lies and making false allegations against this big America's dad, hero, power, narcissistic cause. I'm very upset, and I'm embarrassed for his fans that he has deceived for all of these years, more than 30. I've been I've been holding on to this since 1982, and I am just extremely upset. I do not feel vindicated. I do not feel, I don't feel, you know, any yippee-ki-yay.
Janice, what do you think about Whoopi Goldberg? You know, she's come out and defended Bill Cosby. I'll just play a little bit more. I know that in Jean's piece you heard her on The View, but here's a little bit more of what Whoopi said.
In America, still, I know it's a shock, but you actually were innocent until proven guilty. He has not been proven.
But what, out of curiosity.
Now, Janice, when you hear that, what do you think? I mean, how does someone at this point prove something?
I can't answer anything about Whoopi Goldberg. You know, I mean, she's a talk show host, you know.
Sometimes the perpetrator even goes so far as to say, I didn't do it. They're lying.
Why should he? I mean, any man that you accuse of rape with no evidence is essentially innocent until proven guilty.
This affirms people who don't want to believe that the sexual assault happened. There are a lot of people, particularly in the States, who believe that in order for a rape to be real, you have to have reported it.
The United States is not going to turn into one giant tumbler, Laci.
And in order for that report to be true, a court must convict them as guilty. Now, in reality, about 68% of victims of sexual crimes don't report, and only 2% of rapists ever see a day in jail. Does that mean that 98% of people are just lying? No, it means that our courts aren't arbiters of truth.
Actually, it doesn't mean either one of those things. All it means is that we don't know what happened and whether that person was really the victim of rape or not. They could easily be lying, but they could easily be telling the truth. Although feminists like you are just blatant liars, so I wouldn't really trust one of you.
And they're not always adequately equipped to handle sexual crimes. Then there are myths about how a real victim would act. In reality, there's no one response to sexual assault. Different people handle it in lots of different ways.
Actually, emotional trauma tends to go down the same path for just about everyone, in different ways each time, but the same one.
Another myth when it comes to men is the belief that men can't actually be raped. Men want sex all the time. He had an erection. He was into it. But an erection is not consent. And increased blood flow can be a fight or flight response.
This is honestly the only statement that is true that you've made this entire video. Yes, an erection could be a fight or flight response.
Lastly, one of the sneakiest and I think most pervasive reasons why people don't believe survivors is that most survivors are women.
Okay, time to break this down. Just because someone doesn't believe you when you have no evidence that you were raped doesn't mean that they are sexist or that they hate women, you freaking idiots. Also, if you factor in something like prison rape, it turns out men actually get raped far or at a greater rate than women do. In fact, this is becoming a huge problem that a lot of feminists need to glaze over in order to keep their ideology going.
There are many subconscious sexist beliefs that we learn all throughout our lives that come in and inform our opinions.
Laci, you are not a psychiatrist. Everyone grows up with their own unique ideas about the world, and they come from all different sources.
That women lie a lot, we're not trustworthy, we're manipulative, you know.
Well, considering the fact that most divorces are inherently caused by women, and actually more women are likely to abuse their children than the other way around, like men abusing their children, I can understand why.
Bitches be crazy. When those attitudes and biases within ourselves go unchecked, they absolutely do real damage. But wait, what if it really is actually truly false? False reports are illegal, and they're typically taken pretty seriously when they surface.
Well, actually, even though they are technically illegal, there actually is no legal repercussion for lying.
Really important to talk about them, because ultimately in this fight we're fighting for justice for everyone. So we need to pay attention in the rare moments that this happens to address them, to better understand them, and we do a whole lot of talking about false reports, which is—
I haven't heard hardly any feminists, and actually I never hear feminists talk about false reporting. In fact, the narrative seems to be that you're spewing right now, just believe them, even though there are times when they actually do lie, just believe them. Kind of like Law & Order is going right now.
Why we also need to talk about the reality that sexual assault accounts are nearly always true.
In a system based on guilt until proven innocence, there's no idea how to know whether someone is lying or not.
We more readily believe someone who says they've been robbed than they've been raped.
Well, because if someone's been robbed, you can just check to see if they have the item on them or not. For someone being raped, that's a different story.
Men are far more likely to be sexually assaulted than to be falsely accused.
Duke Lacrosse, UVA, and Mattress Girl. All false rape allegations that have punished men for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Also, men get abused more. Men are more likely to be stabbed. Men overall are not likely to get their children in custody battles. So in other words, men are the victims.
It's far more common that a survivor is convinced to back down by the public, friends, family, even the police when something horrible did happen. We need to talk about how widespread myths and disbelief protect abusers and allow them to keep on abusing others.
The only abusers that currently get protection from the law are abusers of the system like you feminists who abuse the system for your own selfish desires and try to punish men for doing absolutely nothing wrong. You're selfish and hypocritical for doing it.
False reports are something that worries you, know that statistically you're on the side of reason and justice and truth to believe someone who comes forward. We need to be willing to face the truth, to approach justice honestly, even when the perpetrator is someone that we know and love. So to April Fletcher and any survivor who finds the strength to come forward on YouTube or beyond, I believe you. And one day I hope that the world does too.
Well, that's you, Laci. I personally don't care if someone thinks that I'm a jerk for saying this, but in any civilized society, all people should be considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Therefore, you need to bring evidence before I believe you.